Case study will be presented by Kishore Chaudhary. Kishore Chaudhary serves as at TERI as a Senior Manager, Social Transformation Division. He is responsible for the business development of the social entrepreneur, primarily engaged into the energy service delivery through planning, training, and capacity building. In the capacity of principal investigator, he is also responsible for forging the partnership of TERI with other organizations and implementation of sponsored project in the different parts of India. I am pleased to welcome Kishore on the stage for his case study.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kishore. I've been introduced. Yeah. Am I audible? I think. Yeah. Before I start, let me introduce my organization. Many of you might be aware of my organization. Many of you might not be. So, TERI is the organization which was established by Darbari Seth, who belonged to Tata family and was heading Tata Chemical at that point of time in the year 1974. So we are just 40 years old organization. And that point of time, this organization was named as Tata Energy Research Institute. So that point of time, the concept was the question in the mind of Dr. Darbari Seth was that along with time, there would be a lot of urbanization. And with that urbanization, probably the need of energy would be manifold. So people would be migrating to urban areas and they would be looking for different other gadgets and different other facilities, lighting, cooking, and there are so many other part of that. So the existing energy source and the existing energy consumption pattern would be sufficient at that point of time or not. If that is not sufficient or that is not going to be sufficient, then how we should address those all challenges, how we should plan for addressing those all challenges. So these all things were, smaller things were in the mind of Darbari Seth, and with that intention only, with a little coffer, he started this organization called Tata Energy Research Institute. But along with time, it was realized that the scope and objective of the research is very narrow. Probably we are doing the research in a very limited and confined area, and the time has come when the objective of the research should be broadened to the area of resources. And with that objective, the organization got rechristened and its name was refined as the Energy and Resources Institute. So the Energy and Resources Institute nowadays is being headed by Dr. R.K. Pachauri. We are stationed at Delhi. We are having our headquarters at Delhi. And then we are having presence in multiple states of India. Apart from India, we are present in US, UK, different African countries, Japan, and so many other parts of the world. So everywhere we are doing some projects. We are also having say, mega projects in Kuwait, where we are doing with Kuwait Oil Corporation. So we are into different areas: energy, climate change, forestry, agroforestry, greenery, and sanitation. There are so many other areas. And apart from that, we are doing some research in energy economics, like these kind of things. So now coming to the point of a program which I am going to present is Lighting a Billion Lives. So why this Lighting a Billion Lives campaign was initiated by TERI? So it was against a certain fact, certain statistics. Many of you are more learned than what I have understood so far, that the condition of electricity supply in India is very pathetic. That is known to all. In rural areas, probably the situation is worse. Apart from that, whatever is the supply situation, probably the supply hour, the quality of the supply, and the connectivity, grid connectivity particularly I'm talking about, is having its own issues. So taking into account the existing efforts being made by the state governments or different boards or power companies, it appears to us that it is not possible to connect all the villages of India and all the households of India in near future. Then what to do? Should we wait for the government to plan something and the power companies to produce something, to disseminate, to electrify everything and to do the grid connectivity, or should we do something as a little effort, as a small effort? Probably that will help. So this campaign was started against those all facts. I have already mentioned those facts. And against that fact, probably our leader had this kind of observation, which is already written over there. So with that observation, we started this campaign which was launched in the year 2008 by then Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. And this program was broadly, right from the beginning, and even as on date, being supported by Department for International Development, Government of UK, DFID. It has been our biggest supporter. I would be talking more about the contribution and support of DFID in the next slides. And with the help of different donors, not only DFID, different international multilateral donors, bilateral donors, government agencies, and then corporates, individual donors as well. So we have got support from school kids to university attending students, individuals, corporate CEOs, and then corporates, private corporates, PSUs, state agencies, all the renewable energy development agencies. We have got support from all quarters. And that support has made it possible to reach us to 22 states, and as on date, we have crossed the boundary of 2,500 villages. So how we have reached and what we have done actually, that I would be discussing further. But then here, when I'm talking about a campaign called Lighting a Billion Lives, I'm confining my discussion to lighting component only, and that also household lighting. So we are not making efforts in the area of just providing energy for multi-utility or something bigger and greater. Our prime focus is household lighting, and the broader agenda there is how to create a conducive atmosphere inside the house, first thing. Then how to reduce the indoor air pollution, because the prime source of lighting nowadays, we have observed and all of us understand, is the kerosene lamp, where there is no electricity or erratic supply. In that situation, and that indoor air pollution is killing like anything. That is badly affecting the life of children and women. Apart from that, this lighting is also being supported, being extended to the different, say, petty shopkeepers, traders, and all that, so that they extend their business working hour, and then they are having some incremental income. So that is another area. And apart from that, we are also trying to extend our support to different schools, public health centers, so that they run their utilities, particularly the knowledge recreation center. And in public health center, some infrastructure is being maintained with the support of that. So, there are two delivery models in LABL, Lighting a Billion Lives, which we shortly call LABL. So, one is the centralized model and another is the decentralized model, or say household model. Under centralized model, we have introduced two technologies. One is called solar charging station and another is called solar microgrid technology. Solar charging station and solar microgrid is basically a fee for service model. So, there is no upfront fee to be given by the household. So they can avail the facility with a nominal rental amount, and we understand that whatever they were spending for their kerosene lamp, probably with the same cost, they would be switching to a clean lighting solution. So that is the best part of it. Then this technology is very much modular in nature, it is easily scalable, and then it also provides incremental income to the entrepreneur. So the whole model is that centralized charging station is installed at the household level and with a particular person's house, and that person is known as village level entrepreneur. So he would be taking care of the maintenance and operation of that infrastructure and would be extending that services to the household. So under solar charging station, we are providing the solar charged lantern to the household, and under solar microgrid we are extending the lighting facility to the households or the petty shopkeepers, traders nearby with the wire. So with the extended wire, there is a fixed light point installed at their house. So these all are the two models under the centralized model, and then there is household model. Under household model, what is happening that solar home lighting system or integrated domestic energy system is being installed. Solar home light system is nothing but a panel is installed at the household level, and that is owned and operated by the household itself. Then there is a battery for depositing the charge, and then there are two light points. There is mobile charging point. So if the system is confined to that, then it is known as solar home light system. If it is extended and integrated to an improved cook stove kind of thing, then it is known as integrated domestic energy system. Why we have diversified to these technologies and how we started our journey, that I would be discussing further. So this system is having the advantage that First thing is that it is available at the household level, then there is ownership right from the beginning. So there is no hassle of just going to the centralized charging station every day to get your system charged, or there is no other external control. And then there is asset creation, because normally these all facilities are being extended to the poor household. So right from the beginning, they are having the sense that some asset is being created at their house. And then for creation of this asset, yes, there is some upfront cost, like in comparison to the centralized charging station. But here what is happening, that we are subsidizing that cost with as much as possible with the kind support from the PSUs or the multilateral and bilateral agencies or state agencies, wherever whatever is possible. And wherever there is a credit kind of requirement is there, we are also facilitating the credit linkage of that household with the nearest possible bank. So we are also having relationship with a nationalized bank and at same time regional rural banks. But at the same time, we are not extending any kind of guarantee, first class default guarantee kind of thing, or any kind of other kind of guarantee. We are simply extending or just matchmaking. So we just ensure that like the technology is robust, so repayment is not going to be affected. So the three technology which I was discussing is the solar charging station, the solar microgrid, and the integrated domestic energy system. So I have already explained these three things to you. Now, what are the, so like from the project perspective, like how we are actually implementing that. So when I was listening to all the other speakers, I was wondering that really we also do the project in the same fashion. And my answer is probably yes, probably no. Probably we are not doing the project management the way I studied during my management day, college days. Definitely we are not. So my teacher said that strategy will follow, humanity should come first. And probably this program is following the same agenda. If you start doing the things the way project management is done, we will not succeed. Reason is very simple. Reason is very simple because we are targeting the customer, we are targeting the user, the beneficiary. So every time we can't tell them that you are the borrower of the bank. No, they are sometimes the beneficiary, they are sometimes the borrower, they are sometimes just the end user. So in that situation, what happens that the moment we try to extend this facility to the end user, they are either not aware or they are not going to accept that. Sometimes they may question that we can't afford it, so please don't come to us. And sometimes they also question that these technologies are not reliable. So acceptance, awareness, availability, reliability, these all questions we are really struggling with. Then at the same time, where lies the question? Question lies that the kind of who are we, what business we are in. We are in the business of access to energy. So we want to create a conducive atmosphere. We are a research organization. We are doing action research. So we are neither the manufacturer, nor we are the supply chain company, nor we are in the business of distribution of the things. So there is nothing called sale and purchase. We are a not-for-profit company. Then what actually we are doing? So we want to create a conducive atmosphere for all these products because there is a need. But at the same time, that need is not being converted into demand. So like they are a supplier, but then supplier are very small companies, and they are located in the urban areas, whereas the buyer or end user are located in the remote rural areas where penetration of the product is having its own issue. And one time just throw away product is not going to serve because that is happening since last 10-20 years in India. Neither the technology is new nor we have invented this technology. A few design we have simply invented and we have got the patent against that. But at the same time, how to disseminate those all products to the remote area happens to be the biggest challenge. So when we come across with this like a small manufacturer, the manufacturer tell us that we don't have the established distribution chain. So we can get order from you, we can supply that, but then after sale service will remain an issue. So these all are the question. So like we have devised a mechanism. Yes, definitely we do it in a very project fashion, but sometimes we have to be a bit liberal. Because if we are not liberal, then we will not be able to do. The biggest challenge or biggest question before us is the outreach and sustainability. So we have to reach to masses, at the same time we have to be sustainable in our efforts. So there are different players in that game, and the game comprising like sponsors. So I have already mentioned, so sponsors gives, primarily they give us the capital support. And when this program was initiated, then the capital support was 100% being given by the sponsors only. Then what TERI does? So TERI is not having the presence in the remote rural areas. So it forged partnership with the partner organization, small NGO, community-based organization, sometimes with the government agencies as well. Then TERI also supervises the complete installation process. So complete coordination and monitoring of the program lies with TERI. And then training of the small entrepreneur identified in the rural areas, then the small technicians, and sensitization of end user. Everything is taking place by TERI only. Then what the partner organization does? Partner organization is having strong rural presence. They are working in that thematic area, be it public health, be it education, be it livelihood. They are having strong presence, strong connectivity with the community. So they help us in identifying the area, feasibility of the area takes place with their support only. And then once we start installing the centralized system, they help us in installation, identification of local level entrepreneur, and then operation and maintenance of the system, they help us. Then what this technology partner, as I mentioned earlier also, that we are not in the business of manufacturing, we are in the business of research. So we give lot of research input to the manufacturers, and with that manufacturers develop and upgrade their product, so that product become more and more reliable, it becomes more and more acceptable, it is having lesser hassle, breakdown, and then if the financing scheme is there, then the repayment is not at any point of time being questioned. Then there are village level entrepreneur who takes care of the local level installation of the system. At the same time, they also take care of operation and maintenance of the centralized system. And there are energy enterprise. There are energy enterprise who takes primarily after sale service, because once the supplier is out from the field, who will take care of the after sale of the service of the product. So that is the biggest challenge, and there we have created a pool of energy enterprise. So in 7-8 states we have created 150 energy entrepreneur as on date with the kind support of DFID. So the role DFID is playing is very crucial to us, because all the sponsors are giving us money for installation of the system, subsidizing the system, but DFID is the kind of organization which has given us huge amount for auxiliary services, for creation, awareness and after sale services of the systems which got installed during all these years. So this is the kind of value chain which we are creating, because our prime purpose is that, like, unless there is an established supply chain, unless there is established manufacturer, unless there is established say C&F agent, how the product will reach to the rural areas. But at the same time, those all manufacturers keep on telling us that where is the volume, why should we manufacture these all products, where are you telling us to go? But then can we have say bulk buy there? And our question is yes, we can. But at the same time, with the limited resource and the limited manpower which we all are having, we are creating some market, we are creating energy entrepreneur there, we are connecting them with the state level agencies or the straight way to the manufacturer. And then we are just giving it a quantum jump, that with our bulk order probably they are having some supply established there, and then after that once they are exploring, they are just say exploring the market with our market intelligence inputs, with our kind of awareness campaign, sensitization campaign which we are running, they are having better market and greater market there. So this is the kind of way we are creating a value chain. So we are helping the technology developer, we are helping the manufacturer, we are helping the distributor, we are helping the retailer, and at the same time we are also helping the end user, because wherever there is like say upfront buy of the product is concerned, if the end user is not having the sufficient amount of money to buy those products, even after our subsidy or the kind of fund which we could mobilize from different sources, then we also connect them to the banks. So what we have to do is that we have to convince the bank so that they formulate a scheme, and once that scheme is formulated, that is circulated to the branch, and with that scheme only these all household end users or entrepreneurs can get their loan. And in lieu of that, sometimes we have given the say interest subsidy to the bank as well. So like how we have evolved so far, like so initially when we started this journey, it was very limited in its approach, because we are having limited set of donors. Then we started with a single technology, that was solar charging station, and then we were totally donor driven. So wherever donor is telling us to establish a centralized charging station, we are going to those all places, because that point of time we had no money, so we were very much dependent on donor. And then the donor spread our program in so much so that it was very difficult for us to manage. Then we just went ahead and we thought that no, we will develop our cluster approach. So because wherever we are installing the system, it is also our responsibility and accountability to develop an ecosystem, a mechanism where the systems are also being managed and they keep on running even after a number of years when the donor also exit and we also exit. So we wanted to make it self-sustainable. So for that only we started doing partnership with the local organization, local institutions. For financing, we got in touch with MFIs, local banks, and we forged partnership with some state agencies. Similarly, initial delivery model was confined to grant model. So in grant model, what was happening that there was total dependency on the grant fund. People were looking for everything which is completely free. And the moment, like say after 6 months or 8 months or 1 year, the warranty period is over and the product required some say replacement of say battery or any other component, there was no money, so it got defunct. Then we thought that we need to create a mechanism where there is enough fund for the maintenance of the system. And from that only we started the approach of grant to enterprise mode. So if there is an entrepreneur, he is earning a revenue by renting out those light points or lanterns, then he must keep apart some amount of money for future maintenance. Similarly, at the household level also, since you are getting everything free or at a very highly subsidized cost, then you have to keep aside some amount to replace all the components after a certain point of time when the warranty period is over. So from grant mode, we moved to enterprise mode. And in that process only, we developed the idea of energy enterprise so that when the product is being penetrated to that particular geography and donor is out, we are out, that point of time, if they want a component or if they want repair, maintenance of the system, then at least they must have a choice, a physical space where they can go, they can find a technician there, spare parts there, and the system get corrected. Similarly, technological diversification, as I already mentioned, we started our journey with solar charging station, but from solar charging station we moved to solar microgrid because there were a lot of caste and class issues in the northern part of India where initially people were very enthusiastic, but after a certain point of time they kept on complaining that no, why should we go to somebody else's house every day, why it is not being installed at our house, and then solar microgrid came as one solution. Similarly, while taking the lanterns or depositing the lanterns, there were a lot of issues because people were not carrying it with handling it with care. So at that point of time, there were a lot of issues with the circuit, with the switch, or so many small things, PCB, so many small things. So we thought that okay, there must be a fixed light point so that there is at least a human interference because these are lights are to be used not in laboratory but at the household level. So how to find a solution? Similarly, for the user autonomy, why should I use it only in the evening hour? If I want it say by 10:30, there must be some provision. So solar home lighting system came in response to that. And with the increased indoor air pollution, we found that even after we are giving the solution for the lighting, there is like a 3-stone mud stove is being burned in the house and the same smoke is there. So why not to integrate it with the lighting component? So we just proposed the idea of integrating an improved cook stove which is having a fan attached to it and which is being powered by the solar battery. So there we started with the IDS kind of thing. And then sustainability was the biggest idea because right from the beginning we were finding that even after the number of sensitization program, users were not using it properly. Similarly, after some point of time, like all the technicians which we had trained were running away from the field because the kind of revenue potential which they were getting was not sufficient to sustain their interest. In that situation, what is to be done and how it is to be done? So that was the question. So we came with the idea of technical resource center, but then we found that no, unless there is a revenue transaction, unless there is multiple source of revenue, the interest is not going to sustain. So with that idea only from TRC we graduated to the idea of energy enterprise. Energy enterprise is nothing but a kind of physical space, a shop where all the solar products are being available, and then we are supporting these all entrepreneurs in many ways. First with the initial inventory, though it is returnable in nature, and with the branding support. Similarly, we are connecting them with the suppliers, manufacturers. Then whatever system we have installed in that area for the maintenance of the same, we are also giving them some incentive. Then they are doing some direct sale of the product, over the counter sale. From that they are getting some margin, and then there are certain incentives from our side. So there are multiple revenue stream for them, and that is simply sustaining their interest. So like what I was discussing, that from the project perspective, as and when I see this program, so I always say it that like yes, the, it is to be managed in a very tactful manner, because wherever we are seeking fund from, wherever we are submitting a proposal and getting the sanction, definitely we have to submit a timeline. We have to submit a deadline that by what time we are going to achieve how much amount, how many villages we are going to cover, and at the same time how we are going to utilize the fund. So from that perspective, definitely we are adhering to the idea of project management. But when it comes to the human angle, then probably things are not going to meet the timeline and deadline. So I will give you just, I will take another 2 minutes. I will give you another example. The kind of, under this program only, we are also having a project which is being supported by an organization called Indus Tower. Indus Tower is a tower company, a consortium of Airtel, Idea and Vodafone, and they are erecting tower across the country. So they have supported us in a very good manner, and we are doing a project with their financial support in Uttar Pradesh. But then, like initially, the idea was to establish solar charging station at the household level, where there is an idea of women empowerment. So the women are operating and managing that. So there is, say, livelihood support to women, at the same time lighting support to the community. But then all the donors, and including Indus Tower, was having idea that whatever we are giving you, how much you will be able to mobilize as co-funding from the community. And we agreed to that idea, and finally we ended up with an idea that okay, we have been able to do till second year, but in third year we would be finding it very difficult. Reason being, the cost of technology is not coming down as per our expectation, and the cash flow in terms of co-funding is not coming as smooth as we had expected. Because the kind of community, kind of entrepreneur which we are engaging with, dealing with, is not having ready cash. At the same time, the requirement of this kind of program and intervention is in the rural areas where they are actually looking for it. In that situation, what to do? Should we stop our journey there, that no, we are not getting payment in time, or should we continue? So we are of the opinion that we would be continuing by improving our system through different mechanisms, different techniques of the project management. So that's all from my side, and if you're having any questions, suggestions, feedback, please.
Thank you, Kishore. We have 2 questions from the mobile app. The first one is, what are the ERP systems used in the project and portfolio management?
Yeah. See, we are having an Excel-based monitoring system, but then in this system, what is happening that we have installed data logger in the field, but getting true data from the field with the help of even the data logger has been very difficult for us, one thing. And all the stations are located in the remote areas where there is no electricity. In majority of the cases, there is no electricity, forget IT infrastructure and other things. Then all the entrepreneurs who are doing that, majority of them are either school pass or school dropout. In that situation, just thinking of an idea that they would be giving us all the data all the time would be really difficult. But then yes, what we have started doing of late is that what the energy enterprise we have established, they are little more educated people, and they are located in the urban areas, mostly at the district headquarter level kind of thing. So they are in a position to give us data, but then that data we are capturing is that kind of functionality of our charging stations or microgrid, the kind of, like if every charging station is having 50 light points, so what is the capacity utilization? And then second is the kind of products being sold or component being sold through that outlet. So our purpose is to access to energy, to create a conducive atmosphere where people are having choice, they are well informed, they are aware, and they can afford the technology, quality technology, reliable technology. So that data we are capturing, but then that in the Excel format.
Okay, the second question we have is, can you tell one project management concept that has helped Terry to, to make the better performance?
See, we are applying all tools and techniques, but as on date, I can't say you with confidence that which idea has helped me a lot, which idea has not helped me a lot. Yes, the only idea which has helped us a lot is that human sensitivity. Wherever we have been to field, wherever we go to field, we go with lot more Excel sheets. Okay, this is the kind of say hardware cost. Say every hardware like one system comprising 50 light point cost 1,75,000. This much is coming from donor. This much will come from bank, and this much will come from the equity and debt kind of. But then that again remains to my pocket only, because timeline can't be met. Even if we connect it to the local bank takes time. So if we are expecting that, okay, by this time I would be receiving this kind of money through the entrepreneur, I'm not able to get. Similarly, the installation time, because most of the time my donors, say Indus Tower, keep on telling us that if you can erect a tower in 21 days, why you are not able to install a solar charging station in 21 days? What is stopping you? But that point of time, we are having a very simple question. We are a research organization. We are not in the trading, first thing. Second, we are having urban manufacturer, but then a rural consumer, and that is remotely and that is not connected in all the months of the year. Third thing is that site is not clear, because the person who has been identified to install that system at the household which has been identified to install the system, roof is not there. Pole mounting is to take place. Person is not ready to give the initial upfront amount. How can we do? But at the same time, if we start rejecting the clients, rejecting the end users, then definitely we will not find even a single end user or single entrepreneur. So we have to sensitize them, we have to convince them, we have to cajole them, we have to we have to convince them time and again. So humanity has helped us, that's all, that is all I can say.
Thank you, Kishore. And I would request Bhaskar to present a memento to Kishore. Please give a round of applause. Okay. And the photo frame, please. Yeah. Thank you, sir.